why school buses don't have seatbelts?
I don't know. They should. All cars have them.
There should be a law.
Sounds like you need to learn about Oregon's legislative process.
Huh? Legislative process?
The legislative process is how laws are made.
Making laws?
I think it's time for a field trip to the Oregon State Capitol. Welcome to the state capitol. Every 2 years, 90 men and women are chosen by the voters of Oregon to come to Salem and form what is called the state legislature. It is the job of this elected legislature to make laws.
What's all that stuff?
The legislative process is always under construction. Come on in. Don't forget to wipe your feet.
90 people meeting here? Doesn't that get a little noisy?
Shh. The legislative process is like a board game. You have to learn a bunch of rules before you can begin either one.
What about our idea? How do we make it a law?
The first thing you have to do is to find a legislative sponsor, a senator or representative who likes your idea.
Representatives are senators, but I thought the legislature made laws.
The legislative process is made up of two parts, the Senate and the House of Representatives.
So which one do we take our idea to?
Either one. You know, this is a complicated process. Let's break up into groups. That way each group can study a different part of the process. And look, there's a senator. Why don't you go tell her your idea for a law? Hey, Senator!
Sounds like a good idea. I'll become the sponsor.
The senator is filling out a permission slip, which allows your idea to go on to the next step. It's called a note from mother.
Who is this guy? Anyway, take this slip and your ideas to Legislative Council.
Thank you, Senator.
You're welcome.
I wonder what goes on in Legislative Council.
It's our job to find out.
Legislative Council is where ideas are written in the proper legal style, like this.
Oh, brother. So, you mean this doesn't cut it?
Here's your drafted bill. I researched your idea and wrote it in the proper legal form.
Who's Bill?
Bill isn't a person, it's an idea that's been written in the proper legal style. Remember, because the senator sponsored your bill, it becomes a Senate bill.
Who is this guy? Well, now you can take your bill to the Senate.
What did the Senate do to it?
They gave it a bill number. See, that's it at the top.
Senate Bill 375? Shouldn't that bus driver be showing up by now?
Sorry guys, can't talk now. I'm going to meet the other group. Now that your idea's been drafted and given a bill number, it's going to be read on the floor of the Senate.
And or the Introduction and first reading of Senate measures.
Who's the person with the hammer?
He's the president of the Senate, the leader of all the senators. And that's not a hammer, it's called a gavel.
Senate Bill 375 by Senator Smith at the request of Oregon school children relating to school buses.
Transmitted to President's desk for referral.
This is the first reading of the bill. The bill will be read 2 more times before it is debated and voted on the Senate floor.
2 more times?
Reading a bill lets people know the bill is moving on to the next step. The first reading means the bill will be sent to committee.
In the gallery, could you please be quiet?
One of the important jobs of the Senate President is deciding which committee a bill goes to and when it goes there.
The Senate President sent Senate Bill 375 to the Senate Committee on Transportation. This committee is one of many. Like classes in school, each committee studies a different subject. You have a class on reading, the legislature has a committee on transportation.
We will open the Committee on Senate Transportation.
Hey, the person with the gavel isn't the president.
Committees have their own leaders, called chairs. Another important job of the Senate President is to choose chairs of committees. Committees are one of the most important parts of the legislative process. This is where the legislature studies the bill.
What about kids?
Some laws, like your idea, specifically affect kids.
We'll open a public hearing on Senate Bill 375.
A public hearing is...
A public hearing is where the public has a chance to come up to the table and tell us what they think of a bill. Please come forward and tell us what you think of Senate Bill 375.
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, I think that putting seatbelts on school buses is a great idea.
It's a darn good idea.
School children need this to happen. Thank you.
Drop my pencil. The members ask questions.
We'll make sure the students are wearing them.
What kind of seatbelts will be on the buses?
When the kids are finished and there are no more questions...
We will close the public hearing on Senate Bill 375. We will open a work session on Senate Bill 375.
What's a work session?
After the public testimony, a work session is when committee members talk about what they just heard.
Is there any discussion? If not, then I'll need a motion to get this bill out of committee.
I move we pass Senate Bill 375 out of this committee to the Senate floor with a do pass recommendation.
We have a motion to pass the bill out of committee. The clerk will call the roll.
A committee member will say aye if they like the bill.
Aye.
Or nay if they don't like the bill.
Nay.
It takes more ayes than nays to pass the bill out of committee.
5 aye votes and 2 nay votes. Senate Bill 375 is passed to the floor with a do pass recommendation.
It passed out of committee, but it's not law yet. It has to go back to the Senate floor. Remember, the bill has to be read 2 more times before the whole Senate votes on it.
He left his pencil.
I've got to go meet the other group in the Senate.
Second reading of Senate measures.
Senate Bill 375 by Senator Smith at the request of Oregon school children relating to school buses.
That was the second reading of the bill. The second reading announces that the bill is being given a date to be debated and voted on the Senate floor.
Man, this is a long process.
Third reading of Senate measures. The clerk will read the bill.
Senate Bill 375 by Senator Smith at the request of Oregon school children relating to school buses.
Recognize Senator Smith.
Thank you, Mr. President. As sponsor of this bill, I'm pleased to speak on behalf of Oregon school children.
Is there any further discussion?
Now the Senate is going to talk about your bill and vote on it.
If there is no discussion, Senator Smith, do you wish to close?
Good bill should pass.
Now they vote on it. It takes 16 aye votes in the Senate to pass a bill.
The question now arises upon third reading and final passage of Senate Bill 375. Those who are in the opinion that the bill should be passed will answer aye as their name is called. Those opposed, no. The clerk will call the roll.
Bergman.
Aye.
Everett.
Aye.
Jones. Murray.
Aye.
Shaw.
Aye.
Smith.
Aye.
Stone.
Nay.
President Payton.
Aye.
Voting no, Armstrong, Martindale, Scott. 27 ayes.
Senate Bill 375, having received a constitutional majority, is declared passed.
Not quite! Not quite! Remember, there are two parts to the Oregon legislature, the Senate and the House of Representatives. The House of Representatives has 60 members, twice as many as the Senate. The leader of the House of Representatives is called the Speaker of the House. See, there's that gavel again.
First reading Senate bills.
Senate Bill 375 relating to school buses.
Bills read first time are passed to Speaker's desk for referral.
Just like the Senate President, the Speaker decides which committee to send the bill to. And in this case, it's a House committee. Just like the Senate committee, the House committee hears public testimony, holds a work session, and votes on the bill.
Our bill asks for lap belts to be put in.
Now the bill says shoulder belts.
The House committee changed our bill.
They can do that. It's called an amendment. Committees amend a bill if they feel the changes can improve upon the original idea. Sometimes the committee hears new information and they decide to make changes in the bill. That's called amending the bill. When a bill is amended, a letter is added to the bill's number. Senate Bill 375 becomes Senate Bill 375A. If the bill is amended again, it becomes Senate Bill 375B, and so on. Oregon is the only state that amends bills in committee and not on the floor.
Second reading Senate bills.
Senate Bill 375A relating to school buses.
Bills read a second time are passed to third reading. Third reading Senate bills. The clerk will read the first bill.
Senate Bill 375A relating to school buses.
Question now arises upon third and final passage of Senate Bill 375A. Representative Thorne.
I get it. The bill's read a third and final time.
Then it's debated. Then the House votes on it.
Then it's passed out of the House.
And back to the Senate.
But it was already here.
The original version was here, but not the changed version.
Don't you mean amended?
The Senate debates the amendments and votes on the changes. The Senate concurred with the amendments the House made to the bill. Concur means that the Senate agreed to the changes the House made to the bill. Another rule of the legislative process is that both the House of Representatives and the Senate must concur on the exact same version of the bill before it becomes law.
It's still not a law.
There's one final step a bill goes through before it becomes law. It's signed by the governor. After both chambers concur and pass a bill, it is sent to the governor. The governor has the final decision on whether or not a bill becomes law. If the governor doesn't think Senate Bill 375 will make a good law, she vetoes the bill. If the governor thinks Senate Bill 375 will make a good law, she signs the bill.
Give me that.
The governor signed the bill. It's now a law.
I encourage more children in Oregon to bring their ideas into the legislative process.
Speaking of kids, I better get the groups together and tell them the good news. Well, that's the legislative process, taking the best ideas from the people who live in Oregon and making them laws. Well, it's been fun, kids, but we better be getting back to school.
Thanks for all your help.
I still think he's weird.
Are those tickets on that bus?
Hey, look, seatbelts.
Speaking of ideas, what do you kids know about the Supreme Court? To the Supreme Court!
Oh!